What up, gang? Hey, we got some nice weather, so I'm gonna actually start doing some of these videos now for the questions that I've gotten. This particular video is for Kirk, K-I-R-K, out of St. Louis, Missouri, who sent me a message on Instagram asking me to compare the Panigale V2 that I just bought with the Kawasaki ZX-10R. Now, he is torn between a Ducati and a Kawasaki. First off, Kurt, I want to let you know, fundamentally speaking, these are two very, very different bikes. Okay, obviously you got a V-twin. You always have an inline 4 on this one here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Kawasaki first and foremost. This bike, and you know this as well as I do, this is the reason why you're probably very interested, is iconic. Obviously, this is a KRT edition. It does come in a black edition as well for 2023. I honestly don't have anything negative to say about the Kawasaki other than the quick shifter post flash is very, very rough, and you have to work on it. You just have to keep going back in and remapping it until you get it right. This one, fortunately, is still a little rough, but not as rough as it was when I first basically flashed it with my mechanic. So that being said, the power on this bike is extremely insane. It's raw, 194 wheel horsepower. It's geared really, really nicely. This bike pulls between gears 1, 2, and 3. There really is no flat spot for this one here. So I have enjoyed riding this bike. Not to mention too, you can hear this bike coming down the road 2 miles away. A lot of it has to do with the pipe that I chose in this bike. This has got a Yoshi AT2 pipe on it. And not a lot of people use Yoshimuras on these bikes, but it's one of my preferred pipes. It is extremely blissful to listen to it when you're riding, but for anybody that's on the outside looking in, you hear this bike coming a mile away. And let's talk about some of the features of this bike, okay? One thing that this bike has that you will not get on the Ducati is cruise control. And cruise control is absolutely amazing when you're riding. This bike also too has a steering dampener, which is very nice. It also does come with a quick shifter, which I already spoke about. And the electronics on this bike are actually quite nice. I'll turn the bike on and give you a cold start, just to give you a difference in the sound with this particular bike. I did end up adding a fender delete on this one here. You guys know that all my bikes have New Rage fender deletes on them, the tail tidies to clean them up. And this bike was also flashed by Woolwich. So we use Woolwich basically on the dyno for this bike, and it turned out really, really good. The one thing that this bike does need is some Rizomas on here, but some people, neither here nor there, but the look of the bike is absolutely amazing. I do love also too the Brembo brakes that are found on this bike, and the suspension. The Showa suspension on this bike is really comfortable. This bike has a very, very different ride angle for the Pilot when you throw a leg over it. In my opinion, this bike is way more comfortable than the Ducati, and it's something that anybody will tell you that rides a Ducati or has ridden a Ducati. Their angles are super aggressive. This one here for the Kawasaki, for the ZX-10R in particular, I absolutely love the way that it feels to ride this bike long distance. It's just been my personal experience with it. I have no hesitation taking a longer road trip. When I say longer road trip, anything over an hour on the bike. In comparison to my R1s, the R1, which is the regular R1, is very uncomfortable. The R1M is comfortable because of the suspension. The suspension really does make this bike. And this bike pulls like no other. Okay, so those are the things that I love about the Kawasaki. There are also, like just the cowling and stuff like that too, that you can buy aftermarket. Just look great. Looks really good, performs well. Price point of this bike was roughly about $17,000 with the tax and everything, $18,000 out the door. So that's what you're going to expect to spend for this particular bike. Now the Panigale, the one that you're looking at, keep in mind, I'm going to be talking about this as a Bayless. This particular bike is a limited edition bike. It's a numbered bike. You guys can see this number here is 2821. And this is a Bayless edition. This edition is more expensive than a regular V2 that you're looking at. But again, that V2 is going to be roughly right about $18,000 base price. I have not done anything other than change out the actual rear fender on this one with a new rage, again, on the V2. And I took the bug ears off of this bike because I hate the mirrors that come with the V2, and I put Rizomas on there. And you can see, if it focuses there, those are Rizomas. And this bike is fundamentally different, like I said. Let's talk about the V-twin. The bike just sounds different right off the bat. Oftentimes when I turn this bike on from a cold start, my friends will give me a look and be like, what the heck is that? It just sounds different. It kind of sounds like the bike is like broken, but it's not. And after it warms up, it's totally fine, but the cold starts are pretty funny on these bikes. It takes a while for them to kind of kick over. But let's talk about ride quality and also just electronics and stuff. You cannot shake a stick at Ducati's electronics. They have their electronic packages down dialed. It's very simple to use. There is no cruise control on this one here. As long as you understand the mode buttons and your up and down thing, you can set this thing up any way you want. You can customize your maps on them and everything. It's really nice. One thing that I do love about this bike, which is the reason why that I bought it, is the suspension. It does come with an Olin suspension on this one. The regular V2 that you're looking at does not. So keep that in mind. The ride on this bike is very plush. And one thing that I will tell you about this bike versus the ZX-10. Now the ZX-10, you can see, is a 1,000 liter bike. It's very, very heavy. It's bigger. This one here, because it is a smaller V2, one thing that's really interesting is that it's actually super, super flickable. This bike to me feels a lot more like if you're used to riding Yamaha, it feels like an R6 to me. Extremely nimble, extremely fast in the corners. The bike itself too is no slouch. You call it. I have not flashed this bike yet because I haven't broken it in all the way. After 600 miles, and I'm basically gonna buy a Brent tune for it, and I'll Brent tune it. But right now it's completely 100% stock, and I'm not complaining about it. About the only thing I need to do is tighten up the chain, because the chain right now is kind of loose. It's been stretched out for the past 300 some odd miles I've ridden it. But this bike right here does have a very, very aggressive position for the pilot. So when you are on this bike, I will be very honest with you, I cannot ride this bike over an hour. It hurts. I have a bad wrist. I got a screw in my wrist, and I'll tell you right now, it hurts my wrist, my right hand wrist. One thing you're also going to notice too, and I did a modification on this if you watch one of my other videos on how I took away the slop in the actual throttle housing. Ducatis are famous for super sloppy throttles. Like this throttle used to turn a quarter way this way and that way, and it just moved. There is a solution. It's called a Ducati spacer, and you have to take this apart. It's about a 15-minute fix, and you can take that away. You can see my throttle now is tight, and I like it the way it is. It's more responsive. One thing I do love on this bike, my friend, is the brakes. The Brimbos on this bike are just absolutely second to none. Stops on a flipping dime. I will share something with you too. The rear wheel on this particular thing comes with Rosso Corsa 2s. These wheels are actually a 180/60 ZR17, okay? In comparison to the Bridgestones, the battle ones that come on here, which is a 190/55 ZR17. So this is a smaller wheel, but you don't feel it. Actually, I guess you do feel it, but it feels more flickable. And I really like the rubber on this bike. It's very sticky. We're gonna go riding a little bit later today with the boys, and I am taking the Ducati out for a spin on this one, even though I probably would rather ride the ZX-10 because it's more comfortable, but I do want to go take the Ducati out because it's just freaking fun. It's my flicking bike, and when we go back out on the country roads, it's really nice to go ahead and take those things, actually really take the corners really fast, and know that this bike is just going to stick like freaking flypaper to the ground. So looks wise, I don't think you can go wrong with either bike, but you do know as well as I do, Ducati, the design department for Ducati, in my opinion, they've got their design nailed. Bike looks aggressive. Anytime I pull up to a light, someone roll the window down and be like, hey dude, that is one sharp looking bike. I had a gentleman who, when I was talking about the Panigale for my first, I think it was first or second ride, was like, oh, I hate, you call that bikes that are like, that are limited edition, that are basically remakes of the original bike. Hey, to each his own. Personally, I think this bike looks super sexy. When I saw it in real life, when I pulled into the dealership to pick it up, I was like, holy crap, it looks way better in person than it does basically in a picture. And any of my friends will tell you the same thing too. They like it way more in person than in a picture. Again, my friend, you really can't go wrong. Base price on that one's going to be $18K. This particular Bayless one with the Rizomas and the new Rage stuff that I had him do prior to, out the door with tax, this one was $25,000. A lot of people were like, CK, why the hell did you spend $25,000 on a V2 when you could have got a V4 for $25K? That is true. There was actually a V4 in a crate that was sitting out there that had not been purchased yet. I could have gotten the V4 versus the V2. But you guys know I ride huge leader bikes. I wanted something smaller that I could just take out and ride. That's why this bike is really fun to just take out and go. If I'm gonna ride for like an hour, you know, just super fast on the country roads in the back there, this is a fun bike to ride. It's a flicker in comparison to these bikes, which are just monsters. So depends on what you're looking for. If you're tracking the bike, this bike right here, in my opinion, is gonna be way more fun to track than the ZX-10. Not taking any away from the ZX-10R, it's gonna be super fast, but it's just a bigger bike. So if you have seen a lot of guys who track ride, the bigger bikes tend to give some of the guys with very little experience a lot of trouble. If you are a good rider, these bikes are totally fine. But these bikes make you look good, even if you suck. You call that would be me. You call that, I feel like the Ducatis make you look a lot better on the track. And the reason why is because I actually have ridden my friend's bike on the track and I loved his bike, and I was riding an R1. He rode my R1, I rode the Ducati, and I was like, dude, this is actually really cool. So hopefully this helps you, my friend Kirk. And I, again, for anybody else that's looking at these bikes here, again, they're diametrically, fundamentally, completely different bikes. But again, depending on your wallet size and what you're looking to do from a performance situation, you really can't go wrong with either of them. I love them both. I love the Ducati. I'm a little bit more just from an aesthetic standpoint. Power wise, you cannot shake a stick at the ZX-10R. It's almost, after its post flash, it's absolutely scary, the power that is produced by this bike. I'm talking from 1 to 6. 1 to 3 is impressive with the ZX-10R. This bike's just going to be a little bit more, you guys know V-twins, they're a little more lackadaisical. They don't come together until about 9,500 RPM. And that's when this bike completely snaps. Are they torquey? Everyone asks me that, CK, but I heard that Ducati has so much torque. Yes and no, it does have torque. I'll tell you what bike has a lot of torque are the R1M that's in my garage there, and the R1. Those bikes are torquey. They get off the line quick. This bike gets off the line quick. It's just geared differently. And from what I heard too, the Brentune will fix a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about. It'll make it even more precise, more snappy. And I don't know, I can't speak to it yet because I haven't done it yet, but I know for a fact that when I do it, it's going to be pretty amazing. And looking forward to get some pre and post dyno numbers for that flash. So I probably will actually go take it down to the dyno, run it, flash it there while I'm at the dyno, and then put it back on there and see what it does all in one fell swoop. I'm excited to do that once I hit the 600 miles. I am not planning on putting a pipe on this one here, Kirk. I'm keeping it stock, okay? I don't think the pipe's worth it. Especially when I talked to the mechanic, he's like, yeah, you'll probably get 1 more horsepower out of it if you put the Acura on there. It's not worth it to me. I'll spend that money on another bike if I have to. But long story short, guys, hopefully this helps. Again, I really love the bikes. Let's go ahead and start them real quickly so that you can go ahead and see what they sound like, Kirk. So let me just go ahead and just do a cold start. Again, these are all cold starts. Who knows if they will start. It's been freaking raining here forever. And these bikes are probably low. Whoa, work. You can definitely tell that it's cold. We'll let it warm up for a bit, which is nice. Again, that's a Yoshi AT2 on that side there. Let's go see if we can get the Ducati started up. Again, completely different sound than what you're going to see here. Or here, there, I should say. There's a nice Ducati screen. or the Kawasaki Kirk, which I think you already know because you've looked at both of these already. Anyway, team, I appreciate you, gang, for all the likes and the support and the subscriptions. Please like and subscribe to the videos. Again, you guys know I've got a really lofty goal of getting to 100,000 followers here shortly, and I'm just excited to see exactly what's possible. But again, guys, I hope that this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, you need me to do a video on any of these bikes answering another question, don't hesitate to ask. You know me, as long as the weather is good, I can take the time to go ahead and do that. But I appreciate y'all. I love you. Be safe out there, guys. It's bike week in a lot of places. Wear your gear, wear your helmets. Don't ride dirty. Get your licenses, guys. If you guys haven't gone to champ riding school or any of the academies for track, go do that so you guys have skills that will keep you alive. There's too many guys dying on bikes right now, and it's all 100% preventable. All right, guys. I love you guys. CK out.